Hello, ladies. It's Carol Lourie, your naturopath, acupuncturist, homeopath, and your integrative breast cancer expert. Hope everyone's doing well. It's morning where I am on Friday. Sometimes people are in the evening at this point, but anyway, welcome. And I'm here today with my dear friend, Jane Barlow Christensen, who is a second generation owner of Barlow Herbals. And her company was started by her dad, whom I met when I was in naturopathic medical school in Portland, Oregon in 1983. I still have the book that he came to speak with us, that he signed, and here I am all these years later. We're not going to mention how many years they are. I'm friends with his daughter, who is continuing his legacy of high quality, organic, wonderful herbal products. And there's a lot that her products can do for my community, you ladies out there with women with breast cancer. And we're here to talk about that today, as she's here to share her wisdom and her knowledge. So that's a long introduction, but welcome, Jane.
That's a great introduction. Thanks, Carol. It's just nice to connect with you and hopefully spread some hope and empowerment and, knowledge for people, because that's what it's all about, right?
Education and empowerment and knowledge are really important. Because it takes two, which is my expression these days of, the expression, it takes two to tango. It takes two modalities, both modalities, the medical oncology and the integrative tools that we're talking about here, to help you get through treatment and recover your health and then move on to address the tumor microenvironment. So Jane, let's talk a little bit about some of your wonderful products and how they can help women through this arduous and sometimes, unfortunately, difficult journey.
Yeah, we see a lot of confusion out there too, just with the stuff that we do, because there's so much information. So one of the first things I like to just tell people is you don't need to take every herb that has anti-cancer properties, because almost every plant has anti-cancer properties. I mean, that's what they do.
That's the beauty of plants.
It is. I mean, if you think about it, there's like, eat a great big salad and you're getting a ton of anti-cancer properties in all the veggies in your salad. So some of the things that we do, in fact, most of our tinctures were developed by my dad. He was just this hardcore medicinal botanist, and he loved everything about the way plants work. Like, he could talk about what's the common name, what's the Latin name, how does the medicinal properties of this plant blend with the medicinal properties of this plant? Do they complement each other? Do they interact with each other in a negative or positive way? And so that was like not only his love, but he could seriously geek out over this kind of stuff. So
me too.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing? And it's kind of funny, because I find that the more I do this, because I was in fitness before my dad passed away. I used to own a gym. I still teach classes. Like, I love physical fitness and exercise, but I've always loved natural healing too, because that's part of my legacy.
Right.
But what I find is that people do get confused because there's so much out there. So what I say is, educate yourself, find the things that resonate with you, and you don't need to be doing 100 supplements or 100 different herbs. So I know that's not really answering your question. So we do a couple of really cool things, like, you're familiar with Essiac.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of women haven't heard, they don't even know how to spell it. So let's start from the beginning. Yes, I am, but let's educate and empower the community.
Yeah. So this is a formula that was developed by a Canadian nurse. Her name is pronounced Rene Case, and it's Rene. But some people really call her Renee Casey. And Essiac is her last name spelled backwards. So, and this formula has actually been around it came out in 1921. Mm-hmm. So we're almost 100 years. This is a very well-known herbal formula, and it still to this day is brewed into a tea. So it has burdock, slippery elm, sheep sorrel, and turkey rhubarb. So burdock, slippery elm, sheep sorrel, and turkey rhubarb.
Just four plants.
But here's the interesting thing. So my dad got to work with a lot of really amazing people and pioneers in the herbal world. And he worked with her in the late 60s.
Wow.
And after he worked with her, he, with his knowledge of plants and his love of herbal medicine and his knowledge with cancer and all the people that he worked with, he added 2 herbs to the Essiac tincture that we make, which are bloodroot and watercress.
Wonderful.
And those are powerful. Those have powerful anti-cancer properties. Some of you might have heard of black salve, which has bloodroot in it, but it's in the tincture.
And let's talk about the medicinal properties of some of these herbs, because I know in my healing juices, watercress is one of the things that I recommend in specific instances we juice. So can we just go through a little bit about the herbs in here and talk about what they do individually and how they augment each other when we combine them?
Yeah. So just kind of maybe as a whole with, well, when you combine them, let's start with that.
Sure.
What they do on a powerful level is cleanse and purify the blood. So if you think about all the toxins that we get in our body and how our blood has parasites and different chemicals and different heavy metals and just different things that happen to us as humans. And what I found too is that people that are going through chemotherapy, they have a really good response to the blood cleansing, blood purifying herbs that are in the Essiac. And it doesn't negate what the chemotherapy is doing. It actually can help complement and support the body and let the body stay strong while a person is going through chemotherapy. So
I think that I just want to say here that this is such an important concept that Jane just mentioned, which is when you drink this tea specifically, you are not interfering with chemotherapy. Actually, you're supporting your body so that the cancer cells can take up more of the toxicity from the targeted chemotherapy, and your blood as a whole can really stay healthier, and you can stay healthier and have less fatigue and less anemia. And this is where integrative oncology really excels. And most standard oncologists don't understand this or don't have this knowledge yet, but the field is changing. So when you go in to talk to your oncologist and say, I want to drink this Essiac tea, if he or she says, well, don't, this is a time that you could possibly educate him or her and really follow your intuition about how you want to take care of your body. And maybe you want to wait a few days before or after chemotherapy so you're not interfering and you're listening to your oncologist. But absolutely to do this as part of your health regime in between your infusions. So sorry, Jane, go right ahead.
No, that was perfect. I think that that's the whole point, is to have a conversation, because to me, what you bring and your knowledge and what you see, because I'm not a doctor, I don't practice and I don't see patients. So from what you see and what your knowledge is, it completely, that adds to that. So yeah, I think that's a powerful thing to let people know, is like when you gain the knowledge and the education, you can say, look to your oncologist, this is what I've researched and this is how I feel about this. And you could even say, here's the research, because there is a ton of research.
There is.
And then you're empowered, and hopefully you have an oncologist who's supportive and will encourage you. And they'll, I've had people, actually a very close friend of mine, a couple of years ago, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he's extremely medical. And he did the Essiac and a couple of our other formulas, and he's known me for more than 20 years, him and his wife, and we've traveled together and we're very, very close. So when he got diagnosed with prostate cancer, he really wanted to trust what I do, because he knows that I have people's best interest at heart. I'm also very knowledgeable. I'm very educated. So he took all of my formulas to his oncologist before he said, if my oncologist approves them, I'll go for it. And I was kind of like, okay. And it's up to him. It's his choice. I'm not going to force anything on him. And luckily he had an oncologist that researched it. He wasn't familiar with some of the things I gave him. And one of them was the Essiac, but he actually took the time to research, and he said, these look amazing. You should absolutely take them while you're going through your treatments. So I was just like, oh. So the thing is, you can be empowered with what these things do. So bloodroot,
And healthy, empowered and healthy.
Like, how about that? Like, what's the goal, right? The goal is to get healthy. And, you know, our bodies have the ability to eradicate anything if it gets the right tools. Like, I believe that our body fights for wellness. That's our normal homeostasis, right? Like, think about the food we eat. Like, people eat junk food and fast food, and sometimes we get a wake-up call with a health scare. But even though we treat our bodies the way we do, we're still living. Like, we are alive. It's kind of crazy.
So go ahead. What were you about to say about the Essiac tea with the together? Well, you added 2 herbs. I love that. Your dad added 2 more herbs. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So as you said, the watercress is amazing for purifying the blood too, but it's also got some powerful anti-cancer properties. And same with the bloodroot. Like, just from my own research, I have a lot of people that will find us and will be like, oh, well, what makes the tincture better than the tea? And it doesn't. The tea is amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's how a lot of people are used to getting it. It can be, it has a very short shelf life as a tea. And it can be, if you travel, it can be very difficult to travel with the tea and make sure you have the tea and to be consistent with your protocol. But that's the nice thing about a tincture. And a tincture is very different than, say, an herbal extract. A tincture is 100% alcohol derived base, and an extract is a combination of alcohol, glycerin, and water. Mm-hmm. So they're not better; they're just different. So all of ours, the thing that my dad really loved was to take plants that needed a tincture to give it their power. But what's nice about that is it gives it a very long shelf life,
right?
And it acts as a preservative. So you can take a bottle of a Essiac tincture and you can put it in your purse or in your suitcase if you travel, and it makes it very, very convenient. So besides the fact that it's got the 4 traditional herbs that are in Essiac tea, it has the addition of bloodroot and watercress, and together anti-cancer, purify the blood. There can be some diuretic properties, like if you have problems with swelling or problems with digestion. So there's some digestive properties, some lymphatic, helps move the lymph system. And these are all really, really important even if you're well, but when you're dealing with cancer, it's important.
Slippery elm is known for its mucilaginous properties. So it really helps attend to the dysbiosis or the disorganization that's happened in your gut.
Totally. Yeah, in fact, we put slippery elm in a cayenne pepper tincture because of the mucilage, because it kind of helps coat the stomach a little bit and help deal with the heat a tiny bit. But it's also really good for your heart, and it's really good for cleansing the blood. So yeah, slippery elm is an amazing herb. Yeah.
So if your Essiac tincture in my pocketbook and I wanted to dose myself, how many little drops I could go into a restaurant and get a glass of hot water, and how many drops should I put in my water for that? And that's the key. I think we need to add boiling water to it, correct?
Yeah, well, you don't have to. If you're sensitive to alcohol, or if you don't like the alcohol. And if you think about an all alcohol tincture, a standard dose for an adult is 25 drops. So that's not really very much. And we do suggest you put it in water to take it. And that just makes it palatable. Like, you can take it under your tongue, sublingual, but you don't have to. And it's uncomfortable because it's so strong. But when you put it into hot water and like if you were to pour some boiling water into a cup, so say you are in a restaurant, you can ask for a cup of hot water, like to make tea, but just the water. You could even add it to tea if you wanted to, but put the drops in water. You squeeze up the dropper about halfway. That's about 25 drops.
Okay, great.
So that's an easy standard adult dose. You squeeze it in the water, you let the water come down to room temperature, and most of the alcohol will be dissipated out just from the heat. And it won't disturb any of the properties of the plant that's left. So, because a lot of people ask that question too.
And how many times a day should we be doing this? 3, I'd say 3 to 5. I mean, there's no too much.
Yeah, it depends on. So I do a bottle of Essiac twice a year for prevention, and I just do it once a day.
Oh, okay. But you're not going through breast cancer treatment. So if somebody is going through or has finished active treatment and wants to attend to the tumor microenvironment to know they're doing everything to prevent recurrence, I don't think once a day is sufficient. I'm thinking maybe 3 to 5 times a day, or at least 3. Yeah.
You're totally right. We suggest 3, and it depends on what someone is going through and how aggressive it is, what's happening with them. Absolutely 3 times a day, to 5. And also when someone is newly in remission, keeping it at 3 times a day for a few months, just to really support the body, keep the blood cleansed, all of that while the immune system strengthens back up. But yeah, for prevention, I only do it once a day, but that's prevention.
I think this phrase of newly in remission is a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, when you're finished active treatment, if you go in and you have a scan and your tumor and the scan is not revealing any tumor and your tumor markers are down, it doesn't mean that you're cancer free. It means that at this point moving forward, now is the time to use protocols such as Jane's and what I have in my recovery and preventing recurrence to address the tumor microenvironment, because there are always circulating tumor cells, and we want to really make the body inhospitable to regrowth. And Essiac tea, and Helen has asked us to spell it, but more than spelling it, we're going to have a link to purchase Jane's product here, because one of the things that's really important for all of you to know is that I'm a vitamin snob and an herb snob, and that means all products are not made the same. So people come into my practice and they post on the Facebook page and the group products that they're buying from Whole Foods or the local health food store, and they're really inferior. So anytime I bring someone on, such as Jane, her products are made so purely, and I totally trust the quality and the pharmaceutical quality that they've been made to. The standards are extremely high. So Helen, don't worry, we'll have a link.
Yeah, and it's ESSIAC, which is
right.
This is something that everybody should be familiar with.
Yes.
But here's another thing about that. If you're getting your supplements or your herbs from a big box store, like a big box chain,
like Costco or CVS or Trader Joe's, God forbid Trader Joe's. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, you really have to look at your source, and there are some really good companies out there. You just have to do your due diligence and ask questions. Like, you find a company, and if they can't give you answers, or they never answer emails, or like, there are ways to get answers to questions if a company has great stuff. So,
or if you don't want to spend your time doing that research, just ask me, because I've already spent my time, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. This is one of the things I spend my time doing. I've spent my time doing. So what other wonderful products? I know detoxifying and the liver support. Let's talk about some of your other wonderful products, Jane.
Yeah. So there's a formula. After my dad worked with Reen Case, then he did his tincture, and he added those 2 herbs. He developed a formula that is actually really popular, and we actually put it together in a set with our Essiac. It's called E-Star, and E-Star has 4 herbs in it. It has Chinese astragalus, chaparral, pata arco, and suma. So suma is an adaptogen, helps to balance body chemistry, and helps with anemia. Also, these herbs together, they facilitate T cell function, so they help your immune system stay strong, and also prevent cell mutation.
Right.
So,
and astragalus is known to actually augment the positive effect of chemotherapy, as well as protect the healthy cells, as Jane was said. So for me, it's an extremely important herb. So go ahead, Jane.
No, I completely agree. So then we do have a liver. So we have a couple of really good detoxification. Like if someone's familiar with something like broken cell wall chlorella, that is a powerful chelator, helps to expel heavy metals from your body. And what I noticed is, so about 20 years ago, I got all the silver removed from my teeth.
Good.
And I had, I was raised in the 60s and 70s, and even though we really didn't go to the doctor much, when we went to the dentist, they were putting silver amalgams in everybody's teeth, right?
If you're older, I think most of us have that, but as Jane, I have had it all removed.
Yeah. And this has been, so I had all of them removed right before I turned 40. So this has been about 20 years. So I knew going in that you get a lot more exposure when you're having your fillings removed. And so I did a ton of research, and I started taking broken cell wall chlorella prior to having them removed. And then I found a holistic dentist, and I did a lot of research on what I needed to do to protect myself while they were being removed. And then taking chlorella while I was having them removed, I feel was a very important key. So what chlorella does, and it's a blue-green algae, and we source ours off the coast of Hawaii.
That's
It's a
beautiful.
beautiful organic source. But chlorella will attach to heavy metals and help your body expel through your urine. And I could actually smell a metallic smell while I was having all of that done. And I have people say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they first start taking like broken cell wall chlorella or cilantro, you know, you can eat a lot of, if you crave cilantro, then your body probably needs to detox from heavy metals.
Right. So I think that would be across the board a wonderful thing to do when women are finished with chemotherapy.
Me too.
And radiation.
Totally, me too.
So the 5-star, and you're selling that in a kit. How much of the 5-star is the tincture, or what is the 5-star?
5-star. I don't think I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
I'm sorry. The second part of the kit with the Essiac tea you had mentioned.
Oh, the Essiac and the E-star.
E-star. I'm sorry.
I'm like 5-star. Do I have a new product? I don't know.
No, I mixed up the 5 with the E. Sorry.
Yeah. So East. It's like East and West.
Oh, E-star. I love that.
E-star. Yeah, it's my dad's formula. My dad was really creative with his things. In fact, yeah, there's a couple products we make that most people don't know what the letters stand for.
So the E-star, how much tincture? Is it a tincture, and how many drops?
Tincture. Yeah, so the same 25 drops of standard adult dose. So if you have someone with a really light body weight, if you have a woman who's 105 pounds, she might need 15 to 15 drops. But if you have a person who's 200 pounds, 250 pounds, then you just, so about 150 pounds and a little bit of a range on either side of that is a 25 drop.
Right.
So same. So 25 drops of each, 3 times a day.
And you can mix them together, correct?
Yes.
In the same liquid.
Put them in the same water. If you like the way herbs taste in tincture form, if people aren't used to taking liquids, because we're so capsule.
I love them. I love taking tinctures. They're
me
so
too.
But I think we need to talk about this, because women who were brought up on the standard American diet, when they first start taking herbs, they write to me, they go, oh, this is disgusting. I can't. And I want to say to the women out there, just stick with it, because it's not disgusting. It's really real medicine. It's what medicine should taste like. Yeah.
Well, it's also like what plants taste like. You know what I mean? It's if you grew up ruining your taste buds with all the processed food and junk food and foods that have been over processed and over sauced, and those are foods that are designed to addict us to the food. So if your taste buds have been dulled to the way plants taste, I don't want to sit and just drink them all day long because they taste good. I do a lot of tea, and I don't do anything in my tea. Like I do a ton of teas. Like I love Pata Arco tea. It's one of my favorites.
Yes, let's talk about that. Yeah.
So Pata Arco has a lot of anti-cancer properties. It's also really good for candida and yeast overgrowth. But it's to me, like I love the woodsy taste of it. And I don't put anything in any of my teas. Like I brew up tea. I have a teapot I travel with, because not all the time does my hotel room have a little teapot. And I have a little ritual of the teas I drink. But so the thing to do is to adjust your palate, not only to herbal tinctures, but to different herbal teas, because teas are a powerful way to get the benefits of all these things. And don't wait until you get a diagnosis. But if you do have a diagnosis of something, this just complements all the other things that you're doing. So,
Well, I think chemotherapy is extremely stressful. Just going through it, it zaps your adrenal glands and your energy. And there is no such thing as over addressing your adrenal glands. You could do a few drops or you could make some of Pata Arco tea in the morning and drink that. Now, here's the thing. It is an adaptogen, which means the medicinal properties get into your body and they know what to do to help support you. But you don't want to do Pata Arco tea at like 6 o'clock at night, because I think it could keep you up if you're sensitive. Is that correct?
You know what? I've never had that problem. It's not really a stimulant. I usually drink it in the morning anyway. So, but I've had people we do a tincture of Pata Arco, but I've never had anybody say it keeps them up. There are some some of the better known adaptogens are things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, maca root, holy basil. These are some, if you have a lot of stress, and like you said, you hit it right on the head, Carol, when someone is going through cancer treatments, gets a cancer diagnosis, goes through chemotherapy, whatever, it is stressful.
Very.
And stress alone can cause disease and keep you in disease. So if you can take something that's natural that can help you balance body chemistry and help your body realize that it's not in fight or flight, you're not running from a tiger, you have this modern stress that you're dealing with, but you need to find a way to help bring your body to balance. So I would really suggest that people find a good adaptogen. Like I said, rhodiola, maca root, holy basil, ashwagandha, suma root. These are all, I would say, even better adaptogens if someone's dealing with stress than something like pata arco. Like, it does have adaptogenic qualities,
right,
but these other are more specific. And you can get a lot of these in a tea or a capsule or even tincture.
And this is an area which standard medicine as a whole, not to mention oncology, does not address.
Yeah.
They don't have they have adrenal fatigue as a diagnosis, but they don't understand or address the concept of fatigue and how it zaps your adrenal glands and how then that can further your immune system decline. And in their medical world, I think they want to give psychiatric medication for this, which is really travesty of medicine.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's not appropriate because you're further damaging yourself and you're not addressing the root cause. So, Jane, do you have in your beautiful pharmacy capsules for adrenal support or stress relief? Do you have anything that women should know about here?
Well, so we do a tincture of suma root. That's one of my dad's formulas. It's called Fafia. It starts with a P. That's the botanical name for suma root. So Fafia, Pfaffia. But we also do a capsule product that has 2 adaptogens in it. We call it Endurance because it's for exercise endurance. So it has cordyceps and reishi mushrooms.
That's really wonderful. I mean, that's like 2 very powerful products. Go ahead.
Amazing. But then it also has beetroot powder and it has yerba mate. So it's and that's all. So all of our capsules have no fillers. They have no preservatives. They're in an organic veggie cap made from tapioca.
I love that.
Yeah. So there's we don't even do gelatin in our capsules. You're easy on your body, beautiful part of nature. But yeah, so I would take a look at something like Endurance, which has those two mushrooms. And if you want a tincture, something like suma root.
And we need endurance to get through chemotherapy. I mean, that's how, or to get through recovery, or just to, I think that's one of the ways that the women out there can remember what they need. It's like you need endurance. And don't worry, everyone. I'll be listing all of this with the link on the post show notes. So you don't need to worry about not being able to spell all of this. And Gloria says, chemotherapy is very draining. Spell out that T because never heard about it. Gloria, don't worry. It'll be posted here. Thank you for your comments. Glad you're watching, Gloria.
I think
where would someone get these teas from? Gloria, you can buy them from Jane. We're going to have a link. So
I don't have Pata Arco tea, but I'll give you a link to where I get mine. It's an online source.
We don't have to do that. We're just going to direct people to your wonderful Barlow herbals. And not everybody needs to go traveling all over the place on the internet. It's enough for them to go one place. So.
Okay.
So I think that we've really shared a lot of information. One more little thing. What about anxiety, depression, stress, insomnia? Do we have something for that? Because I know, do you have St. John's wort? Because I know it's such an important product, St. John's wort.
Well, so we have one formula with a tiny bit of St. John's wort in it, but it is not a specific for what you just talked about. So one of my dad's formulas is called R-Tran. So just capital R-Tran. It stands for relaxant and tranquility.
Oh, that's really important. I like that.
And it goes after anxiety, stress, and insomnia. And it's so all of those things. It only has 2 things in it. It has blue vervain.
Oh, wonderful.
And valerian root.
Mm-hmm.
And valerian root has it's a bitter, it's very strong. In fact, some people will say it smells like a dirty gym sock. I mean,
Valerian root is what allopathic valerian has come from, and the diazepams. And the beauty of herbs is that the pharmaceutical company has studied herbs and then transferred it into drugs, and that's true for one of the chemotherapy agents too. Taxol, it comes from the yew tree. So the pharmaceutical company really also respects plants because they go, oh, look at this, and then they take the biochemical part of the plant and turn it into drug components. But I'm like more of an herbal girl, so let's talk about this wonderful product, Jane.
Yeah, so this one, basically what it does is it calms the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Mm-hmm. So people with, just say you have anxiety or high stress, that even maybe an adaptogen might not do the trick for you. Mm-hmm. And it's good to do an adaptogen as well. But what this does is this goes in and it just basically brings your body to balance. And you can tell, like, I never really realized the power of it because I didn't really need it. I've never had trouble sleeping. But when my mom passed away about 4 years ago, it was one of the most stressful times of my life. Mm-hmm. And I come from a big family. There's 14 kids in my family.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then when my dad passed away a long time ago, so we all kind of took care of my mom, and it was stressful toward the end of her life. And then when she passed away, as one of the oldest, I was where everybody gathered, and it was horribly stressful. Mm-hmm. And so it took me a couple of days to go, oh my gosh, I need to use this. So what I noticed is it just brought me to calmness. So it's not going to cause grogginess or drowsiness.
That's important to know.
It is. So you can take it during the middle of the day if you have trouble with insomnia, which a lot of people do. So say maybe you have trouble, you can fall asleep, but then you can't shut your brain off. You wake up. Like, people have something on their mind. They can't go to sleep. They can't stay asleep because they just can't shut their brain off. This is where it can help calm a monkey brain. And it doesn't make you groggy in the morning, feel like some people take Ambien. One of my sisters she's turned pretty pharmaceutical, which it's everybody.
That's a shame.
I know. Well, everybody has their own choice about how they live their life.
I know.
And her and her husband take Ambien to go to sleep. And they're just kind of a disaster. In the mornings, it takes them so long to get going, and they can't fall asleep without it. So this is something that helps to bring those anxieties down. And like I said, during the middle of the day, it just kind of helps you go, okay, I can handle this, but you don't feel drugged.
That's the key. And I think that it's important to realize that level of fear, and I've had a lot of women talk to me about how they're always in a state of fear.
Yeah.
Initially, when they're diagnosed, it's like, how bad is it? Mm-hmm. And then during treatment, not being able to function. And then when treatment is over, there's that little phrase in the middle of the night, that little voice that shows up, which says, did it get it all? Is it going to work? Is it going to come back?
Yeah.
And that keeps your nervous system in a state of fight or flight. And that promotes inflammation. And I just posted the other day about one of the best things that we can do for our health is to keep our nervous system in a calm state. And this sounds like a really perfect product for that.
Yeah, it's very nice. And it's liquid. So you add it to a little bit of water. And the nice thing is it goes right to your bloodstream. You don't have to worry about it digesting, breaking down, assimilate. Your body knows what to do with it right away. So that's the nice thing about liquids and tinctures in particular. So unless you're sensitive to alcohol, I would just get a little bit of water, quarter of a cup, mm-hmm. put your tinctures in and drink it. Like I've done that my whole life. I give it to my grandkids that way. And
they're so beautiful, your grandkids. So I recommend using it. I mean, if you're sensitive, put it in boiling water, because boiling water will evaporate. But if not, you can just put it in warm water. It's fine.
Keep it simple. Or juice. Put it in herbal tea or juice when you're first doing it. If you just can't stomach it, if your palate is so, do a little bit of tea, a tea you like peppermint.
Like a mint. I was just about to say mint. Yes.
Peppermint's really good because then peppermint tea is probably one of the best ones if you need a little bit of something to mask a taste of an herbal tincture. And don't put it in a whole cup of tea. put it in like a quarter cup or half a cup because then if you put it in a whole cup and you still don't like the taste of it, you got to drink the whole thing anyway.
Mhm.
So,
And I just want to say it takes a while to develop a taste.
agreed.
For this. I mean, if you're used to the standard American diet and you haven't grown up with herbs like we have, you are not going to know what this tastes like. So when you first start, just know like, oh, you're going to say, oh, really? I have to do this now on top of everything else. But here's the deal. When you're doing it, if you start thinking, oh my goodness, this is so positive for me. This is healing my cells. This is protecting the healthy cells. This is getting rid of, the tumor microenvironment that's creating cancer. I love this. Eventually, even after like a couple of weeks, it's not going to seem, quote, that disgusting. It's going to be something that you'll know. I love the smell of herbs and teas. I just think they're
too.
just, there's nothing like it. And plants are just such gifts.
Yeah, they are. It's it's true. And I actually, there's many people who use our stuff for the first time and they're like, my body loves these so much.
Right.
Then they like the taste. I mean, it's not everybody who has that kind of visceral, these don't taste good. But your body will ask for it. Like your body starts to kind of crave it. In fact, my grandkids ask for some of the tinctures we give them. If they're not feeling good, they ask for them. And trust me, most adults that don't like this, my grandkids are rock stars.
I'm sure they are. My daughter was raised this way. So she used to say, Mom, I need some echinacea tincture. And it wasn't tincture, it was glycerite. But she grew up on it. So it's what she knows and is familiar with. So that's the beauty, passing our knowledge on to our children and grandchildren.
Yeah. And don't you think there's a shift coming, Carol? Like
I hope so.
I see a shift. There's a lot of work to still be done. But I really think that people are searching for natural ways to be well and natural ways to complement what our modern medicine can do.
That's the key phrase here.
That is the key, because to me, it's not about throwing out, I see people in both camps. Like I have a lot of people that purchase from me and have for many years that would have nothing to do with the medical industry. And you just have to go, what if the medical industry can save your life?
Really?
How can you not take the best of both and educate yourself and use both? So I think that I do think there's a shift coming, and I think people need to empower themselves with knowledge in both arenas because they both can serve you.
That's a beautiful way to end, and I absolutely agree with that, Jane. Thank you so much for being here, and to everyone hello from Kentucky, Shirley. We will be posting all the links and all the information, so don't worry. It may take me a while, but by the end of the day today, I'll try to do it as soon as possible, but I'm about to start with patients. But I will post here, so do not worry. And you'll be able to get to Jane's beautiful, what is it? Let's just tell people, is it barlowherbals.com?
So it's, barlowherbal.com. So just BarlowHerbal.com.
Okay. And then I'm going to post the names of the wonderful products we talked about. Yes, that's beautiful. Well, thank you, Jane. Have a lovely afternoon, everyone. And this is Carol Lourie signing off for now, and there'll be more later. Thanks for joining us.